Welcome back to the show, folks, where fantasy dreams are made and sometimes completely crushed. It's studs versus duds time. Who's winning you matchups and who's tanking your team? Let's find out on today's episode.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast, making it your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review. I am your host, Steele Rodin, flying solo for a Thursday episode. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Absolutely incredible deals. View your seats before purchase. Get the Game Time app. Like I said, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. We're doing things a little bit differently on today's episode, or I should say I'm doing things a little bit differently. We're doing an all-team duds and an all-team studs for the first week and a half into the NHL season. I know it's only a week and a half into the season. I'm not trying to get everybody out there to hit the panic button, but it's never too early to see who's helping you win matchups. And some of those players that you put a lot of stock into, a lot of investment with some high picks, just struggling to start off the season. So let's get right into it with the all-team duds. These are players who are rostered over 75% on Yahoo and majority in most formats or most websites or platforms that you're using for your fantasy leagues. But these players are rostered over 75%, and these are players who I believe are struggling. But again, don't hit the panic button, but you should keep your eyes peeled. There could be some buy low or sell high targets that we're talking about on today's episode. Let's get right into it. I've got a player from each position. Again, it's all teams, so 3 forwards, 2 defensemen, and 1 goalie. And I'm looking for all positions as well. So let's get right into it with the fantasy hockey studs turned duds to start off the regular season, a week and a half into the NHL year. First off, Andrei Svechnikov is a player that I've been very high on for the last 3 seasons now, just waiting for that breakout season. And so far, it has been abysmal and really bad for a guy in Andrei Svechnikov, who I believe is still just on the cusp of having that breakout year. Unfortunately, he's getting some bad playing time right now, only 15 minutes and 49 seconds of average ice time. He is currently projected in playing on that bottom line as well with Mark Jankowski and Eric Robinson. Brind'Amour has shuffled the lines a little bit, making this a little bit more difficult for Svechnikov to see the ice time. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the stats here. 3 games played. He's got 0 points, 6 registered shots on net. And again, he is rostered at 78% right now on Yahoo. So when I look at Andrei Svechnikov and, again, what Brind'Amour is doing, they're rolling deep lines. They're spreading minutes more evenly. You're seeing Logan Stankoven, Jackson Blake, and Taylor Hall actually as that second line for the Carolina Hurricanes. And while he hasn't got on the score sheet, he is generating chances, but the puck just isn't finding the back of the net yet. So to me, it's one of those classic case of poor puck luck that we're seeing right now. You can expect a little bit of regression, but once he starts to heat up, he is a multi-category monster. He's going to get you the hits. He's going to get you the shots on goal. Over the last couple of years, 50-plus points is what I see a guy like Svechnikov bringing to the table right now. And I know there's some injury history that he's dealt with in the past, but again, this is pretty much 3-4 straight seasons of 50-plus points. He had 48 and 72 last year, but just a slow start to the season for Andrei Svechnikov, who I really do believe is set to have a breakout season. So don't hit the panic button just yet for Andrei Svechnikov. Let's get over to the Western Conference. Clayton Keller, dual eligibility, left wing, right wing. I think he's also rostered as center in some leagues, but 98% rostered on Yahoo here. 4 games played, only 1 assist to show for it, 8 shots on net. And right now, Utah's power play just hasn't clicked, and that's where Clayton Keller gets all of his production, not all of his production, but a lot of his production. It's his bread and butter. So the power play hasn't clicked. It's hurting Keller's point totals, and the constant line juggling that we've seen so far. Again, it's early. They're trying to figure out some chemistry right here, but you've seen mixtures of Logan Cooley up there on the top line. You've seen Nick Schmaltz. You've also seen Dylan Guenther on the top line. So the mix and matching for Clayton Keller right now is not helping him. The power play has struggled, which is, again, not making it keen for his offensive production. But also, the opposition is just the opposition is just keying in on him as the clear number one target and the clear number one threat from the Utah club. So while guys like Logan Cooley, JJ Peterka, and Dylan Guenther have been able to get on the score sheet more consistently to start the year, they are going after Clayton Keller, who, to me, again, has that superstar potential in him and could have another breakout season. Just a little bit of a slow start for Clayton Keller to start off the year. Moving to the center position, Macklin Celebrini. I'm not sure if everyone will agree with me on this one, but I believe he's having a slow pace to the year. If you're looking again on YouTube, rostered at 98%, 3 games in, he does have 3 assists to show for it, but those 3 assists came in that back and forth barn burner of a game against the Anaheim Ducks. Only 2 shots on net, and that's with over 20 and a half minutes of average ice time to start the year so far. So while we do realize the San Jose Sharks are still going through this rebuild, they're still trying to find their feet and their identity, the culture that they're trying to instill in this young core. Macklin Celebrini is still adjusting to NHL pace, the size, his defensive reads. Being able to play that two-way game as the number one center is very important. So while he does have 3 assists to show for it, the 2 shots on net with the time on ice he is getting is what makes me believe he is off to a slow start. And the San Jose just lack playmaking and finishing talent. He doesn't have really much to go around with him. We talked a little bit of what the lineup in San Jose can be and could be in the near future, but as of right now, it's still going to be a tough road ahead, especially this season with some really good teams improving in the offseason in this Western Conference. Coaching staff as well, easing him in with some sheltered minutes on the power play time. You can expect gradual improvement, but breakout consistency might take another season from Macklin Celebrini. I know he was really good last year as well. When you look at his offensive production, of course, in his rookie season, 63 points. Do we believe he can get to 70? I'm not quite sure because of what the talent is around him in San Jose. So I look again at these 3 players, Svechnikov, Clayton Keller, Macklin Celebrini. Just the overall peripherals aren't jumping off the page. The offensive production isn't jumping off the page. But don't hit the panic button. There is still lots to love about these young guys and some of these players who are off to slow starts. I'm going to come back after the break and talk about some D-men who are off to slow starts as well as a goaltender. But first, this episode is brought to you by Game Time. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel. It gives me so many ways to play, building parlays, trying those player props, and even following the live lines during games. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to start and download the FanDuel app today to get started. Once again, thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review for your boy here, Steele Rodin, and of course, co-host Flip Livingstone, who is on the IR for today's episode. Real quickly, studs turned into duds in the first week and a half of the season. Josh Morrissey, rostered at 98% on Yahoo. He's going to be above 95% and pretty much on all platforms, wherever you're playing your fantasy leagues this year. But 98% rostered, 3 games in, 1 assist, only 3 shots on goal, and that's playing just under 25 minutes of average ice time. And this is surprising to me, the way he started off the year. But when you look at the 2022-23 season where he had that offensive explosion, it really did set an unsustainable bar. And we did believe, and we said in the past, that you were going to see some sort of regression from Josh Morrissey over the next couple of years after that. And while he did regress a tiny bit over the last 3 seasons, went from 76 points, a career high, down to 69 points, down to 62 points. So I'm not saying he's going to go back to his perennial 30, 35 points the first 6 years of his NHL career, but I believe 60 points is where you can typically see Josh Morrissey producing for at least the next couple of seasons, sharing more puck touches, of course, with Kyle Connor, with Mark Scheifele, Gabriel Velarde. So as of right now, fewer direct point shots from Josh Morrissey. Winnipeg's transition game hasn't been as clean early on. Again, only 3 games into the season. However, solid floor with assists and power play. Don't expect another 75-point pace. Exactly what I said. 60 is where he's most likely going to live for at least the next couple of years until he gets later into his career and you start to really see those numbers regress. Let's get over to the Edmonton Oilers, who, again, Evan Bouchard hasn't been on the score sheet at all to start the season. You look at what he's been able to do in the past for the Edmonton Oilers. Again, a guy who lives and breathes on the power play for the most part is where you see his offensive production. He had 23 power play assists last season, 27 the year prior to that. And again, while we're only 3 games into the year, 0 points, 11 shots, 7 blocks, and 1 hit for Evan Bouchard. So while the peripherals are pretty good right now, he is lacking. And again, like I said, his bread and butter is mostly on the power play. And while Edmonton's power play is at 22.05% to start the season, they're 2 for 9 on the power play. It hasn't clicked exactly like we've seen it over the last couple of years. And again, that's where Bouchard eats. A few costly turnovers. We know that Evan Bouchard is not the greatest when it comes to decision-making, especially in the defensive zone. 5 giveaways to 1 takeaway so far to start the season. 25 and a half minutes of average ice time. This is why I put him on the studs turn to duds, the all-time duds for 1 week into the NHL seasons, because he's getting over 25 minutes of average ice time, but yet nothing to show for it on the offensive side of things. And while those peripherals are clean, if you're not going to get consistent point production from Bouchard, the amount of investment and value put into him while you draft him, while you did your draft and got him on your team, it's not living up to those expectations. So Evan Bouchard, Josh Morrissey need to be a little bit better. But again, don't hit the panic button just yet. Just keep your eyes peeled. Take notes on players that you can buy low on, sell high on, and do all of that moving forward. Real quickly, Linus Ullmark of the Ottawa Senators. It's been a tough year already. And while I know the Buffalo Sabres just got a massive win, 8-4 over the Ottawa Senators, and I know Linus Ullmark had nothing to do with that. He wasn't in the game. It was Levi Merlanen. It has been a tough year nonetheless. And for Linus Ullmark, someone who has been able to depend, especially with his time in Boston, been able to depend on that strong defensive culture that they instilled there. Transitioning from Boston to Ottawa, it's still going to take time. He still had a really good year last year, but the Senators' looser, high event style, compared to the Boston Bruins' very strong, sturdy defensive culture that they've instilled over the years, it's a big transition. And with Brady Tkachuk out of the lineup now defensively, it makes it even tougher on guys like Jake Sanderson, Thomas Chabot, and Artem Zub, who have been, for the most part, pretty good. He's facing more shots in high danger chances than he's used to, especially with that looser style of play in Ottawa. And when you look at what he's been able to do so far to start the season, 1 win, 2 losses, a 4.07 goals against average, and an .842 save percentage is not what you want from a goaltender that honestly could have been your first goaltender taken off the board, maybe your second. However, you can expect solid save totals, but maybe some inconsistent fantasy return moving forward, more of a volume goalie than a ratio lock. Ottawa's defensive lapses have led to uneven early results and confident swings. And as of right now, it has been a struggle for the Ottawa Senators, even in that comeback win over the Tampa Bay Lightning to start off the season. Let's get over to the DUDS, who have turned into studs somehow, outperforming their player projections to start off the season. Real quickly, let's get to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and starting off with Justin Brazeau of the Pittsburgh Penguins. This guy has been off to an incredible start to start the season so far. Pittsburgh's forward depth, it's opened a lane for a guy like him to get some meaningful minutes. And while he is only getting 13 minutes and 15 seconds of average ice time, outside of guys like Sidney Crosby, Brian Rust, Rickard Rakell, the rest of them are really getting under 16 minutes of average ice time. They are just rolling lines because there's nothing else for the Pittsburgh Penguins to do right now because of how much depth they are lacking. So it gives a guy like Justin Brazeau meaningful minutes to play alongside some skilled players. I know Flip talked about potentially Anthony Mantha before the season started. That second line of Mantha, Brazeau, and Malkin has been pretty solid. And to start off the year, Brazeau has 4 goals in 4 games, 10 shots on net. He's also bringing some physicality to his game as well, with 7 hits and 6 blocks to start off the season. He has 2 game-winning goals as well for the Pittsburgh Penguins this year. So, his ability to use his size, his reach effectively, he's creating screens and banging in those rebounds, bringing a spark to a veteran team and trying to generate some momentum for a team that doesn't have a lot of expectation right now. So while he is more of a solid short-term streamer, while he is seeing power play time and top 6 looks, role stability could fluctuate moving forward for Justin Brazeau and a lot of these Pittsburgh Penguin players. So just keep that in mind. He is only rostered at 8% right now, but he's on a hot streak, so keep an eye out for a guy like Justin Brazeau. Moving on to a player that I've already mentioned, Shane Pinto, building off a strong second half last year. Started off pretty slow, but picked it up once the new year came around. He's confident, consistent two-way center, locked into those key roles between Ottawa's skilled wingers, Claude Giroux, Drake Batherson. You can see some secondary scoring already early on in the season. 4 games played, 6 points, 5 of those being goals, 12 shots on net. And like we already said, with Brady Tkachuk out for a minimum of 4 weeks moving forward, Dylan Cousins and Shane Pinto are going to see increased opportunity, increased responsibility on both ends of the ice, while Dylan Cousins brings more of that banger league beauty with the physicality, can kind of match that play style of Brady Tkachuk. Shane Pinto has the clear offensive skill set booming right now to start off the season. You're going to see him on the power play, the second power play unit. You're going to see him on the first penalty kill unit, adding to his all-around fantasy impact. So moving forward, it looks sustainable. He's matured into a reliable depth scorer at this point in both real and fantasy terms. And like I said, with Brady Tkachuk out for the next 4 weeks, you're going to see some increased opportunity for a guy like Shane Pinto. Real quickly, lots more to talk about on today's show. But first, this episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Hockey season is officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before the checkout. It's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. That's where Game Time comes in, the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NHL tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. Take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, and go. And once again, thank you so much for making this your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button. Leave a 5-star review for your boy here, Steele Rodin, flying solo on today's Thursday episode. Let's get back into the duds who have turned into studs, outperforming their fantasy projections to start off the year. Talked about Justin Brazeau, talked about Shane Pinto. Chris Kreider is off to a hot start, rostered only at 39%. And like I said at the top of the episode, when I was talking about earlier with the studs turn duds, all of those players were rostered over 75% or 80% for the most part. For these duds who have turned to studs, all of these players are rostered below 40%. So a guy like Chris Kreider, rostered at 39%, 3 games in, 5 points, 10 shots on net with only 16 minutes and 30 seconds of average ice time. This might have been a blessing. It is a blessing in disguise for Chris Kreider based off what's going on and transpiring with the New York Rangers. He is a thriving veteran stabilizer for these young Ducks players. Still elite around the crease. You're seeing that on the power play. Anaheim's power play has been surprisingly strong early to start off the year, and that is thanks to Kreider, who just parks his big behind right in front of the net like usual. They have the second best power play right now, I believe, rocking at 37, maybe over 37% on the man advantage. The shooting percentage is sky high, but that's a career norm given his style, crashing the net, shooting the puck as much as possible. There may be a slight production slip, but his role as that net front skill set keep him fantasy relevant all season long. And while he does continue to play in that top 6 forward group in Anaheim with guys like Cutter Gauthier, guys like Leo Carlson, Mason McTavish, Alex Killorn, another veteran stabilizer on the right wing side, expect the hot streak to continue. Now back over to the blue line and a goaltender, duds who have turned into studs to start off the year. Starting off with Dmitry Orlov. This might be a little bit of a long shot, but when you look at the projection and again, what's going on in San Jose, Dmitry Orlov is getting a pretty good look because of the lack of talent on the blue line in San Jose. It lacks star power. So Orlov's been encouraged to jump into plays. He's getting top minutes on the power play as the top D pairing as well with Nick Leddy. I mean, this blue line is in shambles. So the fact that Dmitry Orlov, and I'm talking about him as a dud turned stud to start off the season, it's surprising. And just looking based off this, 3 games in, 3 assists, 5 shots on net, over 22 minutes of average ice time so far to start off the year. High volume of shots, blocks, and hits, solid multi-category contributor. More, again, great for the short-term value, but point pace could regress if this Sharks offense dries up throughout the next couple of weeks. Shorter-term option, but wanted to throw him out there because as of right now, he is a stud in my opinion. He is rocking at 13% rostered on Yahoo. Over to Caden Gooley, rostered at 13%, 3 games in, 1 goal. And he's just putting up those peripherals that I really like to see, especially with the opportunity he's got in Montreal. The vibes are high in Montreal. Like I said, 4 games in, 1 goal, 7 penalty minutes, 7 shots on net, 5 blocks, 15 hits. He's going to fill out the blocks and hits very consistently throughout the season. And I do believe we can see a career high point production from this player. His current career high, 22 points in the 2023 season. When he gets to play on the same pairing as Lane Hudson, you're going to get some offensive production. And I just look at, again, some of the peripherals and things he's doing on the back end, which is transitioning into the offensive zone, not for him, but more so the plays that he's been able to establish. Also rostered at 13%. Like I said, you're going to see some consistent hits, blocks, and shots. If he can get that up there, it makes him a very steady floor player in most formats. True breakout potential in banger leagues and in deep leagues, of course, sustainable if he can stay healthy. He did only play 55 games last year. So if he stays healthy, he can continue those peripherals. And of course, I think he can get a new career high with the point production playing with Lane Hudson as his partner. And then probably one of my favorite players over the last few years, especially when he was with the Minnesota Wild, Cam Talbot has been off to a great start for the Detroit Red Wings. And obviously, in that season opener, a tough look for John Gibson getting pulled, letting 5 goals in and then getting yanked, and then Cam Talbot takes over. He's riding the confidence early, and the strong team defense in front of him, especially again in the 3 games that he's played, it's made him play better. While again, you also got John Gibson and Cam Talbot, battling for that number 1 spot, pushing hard to hold that starter's crease. He's got a strong mental game right now, and you can look at the stats right here. 3 games in, he's only rostered at 33%, 3 wins, 0 losses, 3 wins, 0 losses, and 0 ties, 1.78 goals against average, and a .932 save percentage. Cutting down, when you look at his overall game so far, while I don't believe the Detroit Red Wings have a strong defensive core, they've been good while he's in the game. They're cutting down the second chance opportunities compared to last year. He could remain a very sneaky, solid fantasy goalie, especially with all of these injuries to goalies that we're seeing in the first week so far. Guys like Cam Talbot and John Gibson, I would obviously lean towards Cam Talbot, but those guys will be available to pick up off the waiver wire. Monitor for fatigue and regression. Like I said, Detroit doesn't have the strongest D core, but as of right now, Cam Talbot has been an absolute stud to start off the year. Those are the all-team duds. Those are the all-team studs a week and a half into the NHL season. Let's get into the big-time bets for tonight. Lots of games and bets that you could choose from. However, I am going to go with a same-game parlay from the Colorado Avalanche Columbus Blue Jackets game. First off, Avalanche on the money line against the Blue Jackets -160. I'm just going to leave it as that. Second pick, McKinnon, 2+ points at +124. He has 26 points in 21 games against the Blue Jackets. He's got 8 points in 4 games to start off the year. Continue to ride the hot streak and the hot stick of Nathan McKinnon. Also on top of that, Cale Makar, 2+ points at +220. He's got 15 points in 8 games against the Blue Jackets, so almost a 2-point per game player against Columbus. He's also got 5 points in 4 games to start off the season. We're rocking with the same game parlay for Thursday's night betting board. Avalanche on the money line. McKinnon, 2+ points. Makar, 2+ points. Lock of the night. Of course, Avalanche on the money line. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. We'll see you back here again tomorrow, and peace.